If we want our children to inherit the gift of living oceans, we must make the 21st century a great century of stewardship of our seas.
At the first National Ocean Conference in 1998, President Bill Clinton energized a conversation on ocean stewardship that still shapes marine policy to this day.
If we're going to do this right, we're going to have to do it together. We have to make this an American issue that transcends party, that is at the core of our own humanity and our obligation to our children and our grandchildren.
Oceans cover 3/4 of the world, but it was President Clinton who put them on the map. His leadership in 1998 through the conference in Monterey, California, helped raise the national awareness of the need to protect oceans.
President Clinton emphasized the value of America's marine resources by signing concrete measures to protect coral reefs and prohibit harmful offshore activities.
President Clinton understood that oceans are at the heart of the American story. From the eastern seaboard to the Pacific coast, they nurture and define us. They shape our communities. Over half of all Americans live on our nation's coasts. They protect us, giving mobility to our armed forces, and inspire us. And they are a gateway to the rest of the world, reminding us, as President Clinton said, that mankind is inextricably related to the whole.
In 2000, President Clinton established the Northwestern Hawaiian Islands Coral Reef Ecosystem Reserve to protect national treasures that were later recognized by the United Nations for their outstanding universal value to humanity.
President Clinton's initiative in the Hawaiian, that is the northwestern islands of Hawaii, to put them in a marine protected area, set an enormous precedent of importance. President Bush then followed on and even strengthened it, and then it was an inducement for other nations in the world to follow. So I think that's a landmark contribution.
Within a decade, the area within marine protected areas tripled around the world.
When you think about it, open space on land historically has been preserved in our national parks and our national forests. Now our open space at sea can be preserved by marine protected areas and marine sanctuaries.
President Clinton also believes that sound ocean stewardship can exist side by side with strong economic growth.
He recognized the need to preserve the oceans in many ways to sustain our reliance for economic commerce on the oceans.
That's why 15 years ago, President Clinton called for a federal policy to improve the health of our oceans. I was proud to work with President Clinton to launch that policy. He signed the Oceans Act of 2000, creating the U.S. Commission on Oceans Policy.
The recommendations of the Commission continue to inform and guide our national leaders, most recently with President Obama establishing a new national ocean policy.
President Clinton is a true friend of the oceans. He was the first president to hold the White House Conference on Oceans, which created a wave of legislative support for the creation of a National Oceans Commission, which is now the foundation for our national oceans policy.
President Clinton's legacy of addressing our nation's ocean challenges reveals that government must work in partnership with the private sector and the public to ensure that the ocean we inherited is passed on to the next generation. Today, the Clinton Foundation continues this work by engaging innovative thinkers around the world to offer pragmatic solutions for climate change and economic growth.
His legacy lives strong today, from President Bush's national maritime monuments to President Obama's new national ocean policy, to our shared understanding that healthy oceans are good for economic growth. And we'll continue to look to his leadership as we work together to meet his goal and make the 21st century a great century of stewardship of our seas.
In the 21st century, these traits, hope, creativity, imagination, they must lead us to preserve our living oceans as a sacred legacy for all time to come. You can make it happen.
Please join me in honoring President Bill Clinton with the 2012 Leadership Award, presented by the National Marine Sanctuary Foundation.